All right, before we take our test, did you get your homework assignment written down for this evening? For homework, I need you to read over pages 296 to 298. The first section in the next chapter. We'll be talking about graphing in our next chapter. I guess we had a little bit of a graph even in this chapter. What was that little graph called, class, where we had categorical data and we just made little dots? Dot plot. Yeah, we had a little dot plot thing, but I mean, that's not much of a graph. So we're going to do a lot more with graphing in the next chapter. You're going to read over the first few pages, 296 to 298. Then on page 301, if you'll do the review, 34 to 44. Page 301, review, 34 to 44. So for homework this evening, read 296 to 298 on page 301 to review 34 to 44. That'll kind of preview the next section. Once you get that written down, clear your desk except for a clean sheet of paper and a pencil. Make sure you have a good eraser. Maybe have a second pencil ready to go. So if one breaks, you're not distraught.
What do you do? What do you have to quiz?
We're about to take your test. Everyone on YouTube just feel sorry for Michael now. All right. Yes, we're about to take our test. Test 10 over chapter 7. Don't forget that the mean, class, is the average. The median is the middle number. The mode is the number that occurs
most often.
The one that's really affected by an outlier,
Mean.
The one that is resistant to outliers,
Median.
Median. And the mode is special because you don't have to have numbers to find the mode. You could have what's called categorical data with the mode. That's not a problem. If you were to find the difference between the highest and lowest number, that's the range. A number that is just far different from all the other numbers, it's an outlier. If you put the numbers in order, ranking. I'm trying to think of any other last second review questions to ask you. That's probably good. What? Theoretical probability is what? Could happen, but you have to assume all outcomes are equally likely, right? There's no bias of tendency to pick this over that, right? So you'd be blind drawing out of a hat, or blind selection would be theoretical probability versus experimental probability, right? Like when soccer teams were picked, you're like, okay, who's going to be the first overall pick? Well, I mean, let's be real. There was you kind of knew who was going to get picked first, right? After the captains and stuff like that there. So, that's not blind probability. Now, if we had to pick, can you imagine if we had to pick soccer teams for PE by just picking slips of paper and who you get is who you get? Well, that'd be kind of unfortunate, right? But we don't do it with theoretical probability. We actually get to make an informed decision. So that would be more like experimental probability. Based on what's observed, there's an actual conscious choice. Yes, ma'am, quick question.
What's the difference between a relative frequency table and a frequency table?
So remember, the frequency table shows all the things that have happened. Relative frequency then translates that into probability. So relative frequency shows probability, where frequency table is just how many things have actually taken place. Yeah.
What is the fundamental counting principle?
It's where you multiply all the possible outcomes in each decision or each event. You just, how many outcomes for this one, how many outcomes for that one, how many outcomes for that one, how many outcomes for that one. You multiply all those numbers together. Yep.
I think I remember the second one. It was like at M, and then it was expensive or like exclusive notes.
Mutually exclusive, yeah. That's a term you're going to need to know more next year. I don't believe you're going to have to know mutually exclusive for this term. But yeah, it does start with an M. Good call. He was trying to remember something before the bell rang earlier. So, all right. Griffin, get the hens to Miss Albrecht. She's expecting you. Good to have you back with us, even though for a moment you'll make up your test later. Yes, would you close the door, please? And all the class like, na 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 na. Just kidding. We love Griffin. All right, everyone else, you have your desk cleared except for paper, pencil, erasers. All right. When you get your test, put your first and last name in the name spot and today's date in the date spot. First and last name in the name spot, today's date in the date spot. Today is 4/12/24 as we record. 4/12/24 is today's date. First and last name, 4/12/24. Again, you should be taking test 7 is the number on the Abeka test. It's really test 10 for us. Now, if you really want to cross out 7 and put 10 on the test, you can. We're calling it test 10. Abeka calls it test 7 because they didn't have the financial literacy supplement like we did. Let's take a look at test 10, test 7 together. Numbers 1 through 8, answer to questions. Numbers 9 through 13, they've underlined something. If what's underlined is true, write true. If it's a lie, correct the lie. Fact check them. Say what should be in the underlined portion. Do not write the word false. Page dose. They've given you some information above number 14. Use that information to answer all the next questions on this page. Write each answer, it says, as a reduced fraction or a reduced ratio. Okay, writing your answers as ratios. Notice they already did the math for you. They told you how many total flashcards right there at the very beginning. So thank you to them for helping you out just a little bit. Look at the next page. Page 3. We see a frequency table. All you need to find for the frequency table is the total. Write that in spot number 20. Then on the relative frequency table, you're going to fill in just the answers for 21 and 22. So you're not going to solve the whole table. And again, you see where there are spots for answers here as well. So don't necessarily have to write it in the box. Write the answers here. You see what to do there. All right, for numbers 23 through 25, we have some questions that are asked about another relative frequency table there. Favorite shoes, according to a reader's survey of a magazine. Page 4. We got a minor league hockey team and how many goals they have scored. And it's kind of up and down. I mean, hockey, there aren't a whole lot of goals they score normally in a real hockey game anyway. So all they're asking for is the mean, the median, the mode. Obviously, there's some things you're going to have to do to be able to find those. So be sure to show your work. You may need extra paper. I know there's not a whole lot of room to work right here on this. If you need to do it on extra paper, just make sure you indicate on the paper what number is what. And the number 29 is an interesting question. What if the hockey team had a really good game and they scored a whole bunch of goals one game? That's definitely not normal for them. You're going to have to answer the question, which of those 3 measures of center would be most affected by that really good hockey game? Numbers 30 through 32, it's a multiple guess. Write the letter of the correct answer. Multiple choice, excuse me. Write the letter of the correct answer. And then for number 89, or page 5, excuse me, numbers 33, 34, we've got a couple probability questions for you based on a frequency table. They don't want you to make an entire relative frequency table out of it, just a couple of relative frequency questions for you. Any questions before we begin? All right, you'll have the next 40 minutes to complete this test, and you may begin.